You've probably done it already tonight. Bounced, shushed, checked the diaper, offered the bottle, turned on the white noise machine you bought at a M during a different crying spell 3 weeks ago, out of sheer desperation. Here's the thing nobody tells you in the hospital. Most of what you're doing when your baby cries is guessing, and that's not a failure on your part. It's actually built into the design of the whole system because babies aren't crying to be difficult, and they're not crying randomly either. They're sending you a message in the only language they have. The problem is, that language sounds almost the same every time. A cry for hunger and a cry for pain can sound nearly identical to an exhausted parent at midnight. So you cycle through the checklist. Feed, burp, change, rock, repeat. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't, and you're left standing in a dark nursery at AM wondering what you're missing. Here's the surprising part. Researchers who study infant communication, acoustic scientists, pediatric psychologists, some working out of labs that record and analyze thousands of hours of infant cries have found that crying isn't one single behavior at all. It's closer to a small set of distinct signals, each with its own pattern, its own rhythm, its own physical cause. You don't need a machine to figure most of it out. You don't need an app that promises to translate your baby's cries for $20 a month. What you need is to understand the 5 real reasons behind almost every cry your baby will ever give you, because once you know them, the guessing gets a lot smaller, and the confidence gets a lot bigger. There are 5 of them, and the first one is so basic, so overlooked, that most parents miss it completely, even though it's often the very first thing a newborn ever tries to tell you. Let's start with hunger, because it really is that overlooked first reason. Not because parents don't think of it, you almost always check it first, but because hunger cries have a specific shape most people never learn to recognize. They tend to start low and rhythmic, almost like a warm-up, before building into that full, insistent wail. It's your baby's system saying, quietly at first, something's missing, before it says it loudly. Picture this. Your baby is lying on the playmat, kicking, cooing, seemingly content. Then, out of nowhere, the fists come up. The head turns side to side, mouth open, searching. That rooting motion, that's not fussiness. That's biology. It's one of the oldest reflexes a human being has. And it's your baby's way of saying feed me before a single sound even comes out. Researchers who study infant cry acoustics have found something genuinely useful here. Hunger cries tend to have a very rhythmic, almost pattern quality, building steadily rather than bursting out suddenly. One well-known insight from this field of research is simple enough to repeat to a friend at a playground. A hunger cry builds like a question getting more urgent, while a pain cry hits like an alarm going off all at once. That difference in build is often audible if you slow down and actually listen for it, rather than reacting the instant sound starts. And here's the part that matters for every single parent reading this. Regardless of income, family structure, or how many baby gadgets are sitting in the nursery, this pattern holds true across cultures and across households. A baby in a 1-bedroom apartment and a baby in a 5-bedroom house cry hunger the same way. This isn't a skill you buy. It's a skill you notice. Once you start listening for that build rather than just the presence of crying, hunger becomes one of the easiest of the 5 reasons to catch early, often before it turns into full distress. In the 1970s, a researcher named Peter Wolf set out to do something almost nobody had done carefully before. He sat with newborns for hours at a stretch, recording and cataloging their cries, trying to figure out if there was actually a pattern hiding inside what sounded, to most adults, like undifferentiated noise. At first, the data resisted him. Cries blurred together. 2 infants in seemingly identical states sounded completely different from one another. It would have been easy to conclude that infant crying was simply too chaotic to categorize, that parents really were just guessing forever. But Wolf kept listening, session after session, and slowly, distinct clusters started to emerge. A hunger cry, a pain cry, sudden, sharp, followed by a long breath-holding pause that made new parents panic the first time they heard it. An anger cry, each with its own acoustic fingerprint, hiding in plain sound. The takeaway isn't that you need a lab to understand your baby. It's the opposite. It's that structure was there all along, waiting to be noticed by someone patient enough to really listen, which means you already have everything you need to become fluent in this. Not perfect, fluent. Here's how to start today. First, pause before you act. When your baby cries, count 3 seconds before you move. Just listen. Say to yourself quietly, "What's the shape of this cry?" Second, narrate out loud as you check things. Say, "Let's see if you're hungry, buddy," as you offer the bottle. This isn't just for your baby, it trains your own ear to link sound to cause. Third, keep a mental log for the first few weeks. After a few days, you'll start noticing, "Oh, that's the tired cry. That's the overstimulated cry." Say to your partner, "I think this is her overtired cry. Let's dim the lights first." Fourth, resist the urge to fix instantly every single time. Sometimes 30 seconds of watching tells you more than 30 seconds of bouncing. You're not decoding a mystery. You're building a relationship, one cry at a time. Somewhere out there is a $200 device that promises to listen to your baby and tell you, via app notification, whether they're hungry or tired. And look, if it brings you peace of mind, that's not nothing. But here's what the research actually points to, over and over. The single best cry detection tool ever studied is a present, attentive parent who's had a little practice. Not a sensor, not a subscription. No gadget can hold your baby a beat longer just to see how the cry shifts once she's upright. No app narrates, "Let's check your diaper," but in a voice your baby already recognizes as safe. That's not a feature you can purchase. That's just you, showing up, again and again, in the middle of the night, tired and imperfect and trying anyway. And that's the part worth sitting with for a second. If you've watched this far, if you've thought hard enough about your baby's cries to look this up in the first place, you're already the kind of parent who pays attention. You're already doing the work that actually moves the needle. This video didn't make you a better parent. It just put language to something you were already reaching for. If this helped you feel a little more confident the next time the crying starts, consider subscribing. This channel is all about turning real child development research into things you can actually use, without the jargon and without the guilt. And if you found this useful, a quick like helps more tired parents find it too, because here's the truth underneath all 5 of these reasons. Your baby isn't crying at you. They're talking to you, and the only voice they've got, waiting for you to learn the language. And every single time you pause, listen, and respond, you already are.